Okay, guys, part two. So, this part starts with my horse. When I graduated from high school, I bought a horse. Now, this horse was an off the track thoroughbred. His name's Eli. And my cousin, who is also my best friend, who has been riding since she was 3, had to retire her pony that she jumped with, so she was looking for another horse that could jump. So she got him from a rescue that had rescued him off the track. And she has worked as a trainer and stuff, and she was working with him trying to train him. But he just did not like jumping and wasn't going to work out. And so she was looking to sell him, and I had started riding him and helping her train him, and I fell in love with him. He was a funny, crazy horse. He was a little stubborn, but I really liked him, so I decided to buy him from her. And at first it was going well because I was boarding him at her place, but then her mom kind of was like, you can't board here anymore, so I was looking for a place to keep him, and I had to keep him at a couple different people's houses. It didn't go well, like they just weren't good horse people, so I finally decided to bring him to my house. So anyway, he had ongoing medical problems. I could go into a whole rant about thoroughbreds and the racing industry and stuff. I don't like it. And it's not necessarily because of the racing part, and people are always like, so many horses die on the racetrack. Like, there's actually not that many that do. And the horses that are racing are very valuable, but to get those valuable, good race horses, they have to breed a lot of horses to get those top percentage of horses, and the rest of them are pretty much just abandoned. The other thing with thoroughbreds is that because of the breeding to get the certain traits that they want for a good racehorse, a lot of other parts of the breeding are neglected. So thoroughbreds have teeth problems, hoof problems, immunity problems. A large percentage, like 80% of them, have stomach ulcers just because of how they are trained and raised and all of that. So he had a lot of issues with that. He had a hard time keeping weight on. Like, he ate pretty much twice the normal amount of feed for a horse his size, and I still could barely keep weight on. Like, he was underweight a lot, and the vet was working with me with that. But he was just also, like I said, a very stubborn horse. And you really had to be patient with him. And after I'd had him a year or two, like, even if I had wanted to sell him, I don't think I could have found a person that would have given him the patience that I did. A lot of times I wasn't even riding him. It was just stuff on the ground because he started getting kind of violent and just lashing out, and he just was unhappy. And I felt guilty that I couldn't do things with him, but it got to a point where it was just so stressful and exhausting to work with him that I was having a hard time. And eventually my parents and even my therapist, whose daughter was into horses, so she knows a lot about them, was like, he's dangerous, like, he is gonna kill you, like, we're afraid for you. And like, when I would work with him, my mom would have me tell her and either text her about it, or she'd go outside and watch to make sure I was okay. My best friend, who is an excellent rider and horse trainer, had been trying to take care of him and exercise him the first time I went to treatment, and he kind of freaked out on her, and she fell off, and her husband told her point blank, like, you are not allowed to touch that horse or get on him ever again. And I always say he was my soulmate. I remember the first time I went to treatment, they had equine therapy, and I was telling the therapist all about my horse and stuff, and she was like, wow. I always say, you look at the horse, see the rider, and everyone always pointed out how much he was like me. Like, stubborn, a little, I don't know, anxious, just lashing out, trying to run away. Like, there were so many things, even down to his health problems. At one point, he got a skin infection and he had scars all over his back. And I gave him all the love that I could, and everyone always told me, like, you have given him so many chances that most people would not give him. Like, no one would have given him the chances that I did. No one would have been as patient as I was with him. No one would have loved him like I did and sacrificed so much for him. And now I can see that, but it was just very hard. I felt guilty, like I should have done more. But anyway, in 2019, September 2019, oh wait, I have to backtrack a second. The interesting part about him and why it relates to March 27th is because after I bought him, I knew his birthday was in March, but I didn't know. So I finally looked at his records, and his birthday was March 27th. And obviously this was after my cat passed away, and I would get very sad on that day, obviously, but then I just felt like so thankful that I had him. And it was a comfort to me to know that, like, yes, I lost her, but I have him, and look, I can celebrate his birthday and feel happy. So anyway, September 2019, he was 11 years old, and he was sick. I had to give him medication, and I couldn't get near him. He wouldn't let me give him the medication, and at one point, it was an oral medication, and I gave it to him after, like, 20 minutes of fighting with him to do it, and I didn't let him go, but, like, he was on the lead line, and I kind of loosened it. I was like, see, Eli, it's okay, like, calm down. And he was just mad, and I think something in his brain was just broken ever since he was born. And I always say thoroughbreds have broken brains. A lot of them do. It's very hard to retrain them. They don't know how to be normal horses, and he charged me, reared, and tried to kick me. And this was not the first time. If I went in there and he was in a mood, he would charge at me and literally act like he was going to kill me. And I have scars from him biting me. A couple times he tried to kick me and I would fall over, and I could barely do anything with him unless I was bribing him with food and he was distracted. So anyway, after that, my therapist, who had been saying certain things for a while, was like, he is going to kill you. Like, there's no question about that. And she did not suggest to me anything. No one did. But after that conversation, I went home and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And he's unhappy. It's not fair to him that I can't work with him. And I can't get rid of him because no one's going to want him. And he's either going to kill someone else, or they're going to send him to auction or euthanize him themselves. Like, it's just not good. So I made the very hard decision that I wanted to euthanize him, because it wasn't fair to him to stay on this earth when he was so sick and so miserable. So I decided to do that, and 2 weeks later, I had scheduled with the vet, and I'm thankful for her. She's an amazing, like, very kind, loving person, a good vet, and I'm also thankful because sometimes euthanizing horses can be very difficult, just because they're so big. You can't make them lay down beforehand. It's complicated, and his death went very well. My neighbor, for free, buried him. He has, like, excavating equipment. He's a farmer. Buried him, and I was so upset and sad and grieving his loss, but also feeling guilty. Like, that I should have done more. I could, like, why didn't I do this or that? And I felt so much guilt. And I just cried and cried all the time about him. I got rid of, like, all his stuff. I gave it to my cousin, and I was like, you can keep it, you can sell it, I don't want to see it. The only thing I kept of his was a fleece blanket, like a cooler, and I still have that. It still has his hair on it, and sometimes I hold it and, you know, sleep with it or whatever. And my friend also made me, like, a shadow box that has his bridle and pictures of him in it. It's like this glass front, like, case thing. So yeah, I lost him. And it still hurts, and it goes back to my cat and this, like, I should have done more thing. And obviously I've had other pets that have passed away, mostly smaller rodents, a rabbit, mice, a hamster, and some of them was just from old age. They don't live that long. My hamster last summer, I decided to euthanize him because he was very sick and I didn't want him to suffer anymore. So I found a vet that could euthanize a hamster. And I was very sad about that, but I felt like I gave him the best chance. And going back to my cat, Annika, I remember after that happened, I promised myself, I promised all of my other pets that I would never let them suffer like that. And I didn't. I didn't let Eli suffer any longer. I think I made the right choice. Thankfully, after that, I ended up, my best friend had had ponies since we were 12 years old, and she was a crazy mare. She was pretty much unrideable, untrainable, and the two of us trained her and gave her a chance, and she's now 22. She's an old lady, but she's the sweetest, nicest, calmest, like child-safe horse because we gave her that chance. And I ended up adopting her 2 months after Eli passed, and I still have her, and she's doing great, and that really helped heal my heart. Not because like I was just trying to replace him, but because I loved her so much, and at that time my cousin just couldn't keep her anymore. They couldn't afford it, so they were gonna sell her anyway, and they were like, we'll just give her to you. And so anyway, that is the story with the two pets that have, really affected me. And the reason I wanted to talk about this, or the reason I haven't talked about this was just that I feel like I've always been told it's not a big deal or it's not that important, but it has shaped my life. Animals have shaped my life. I mean, if anyone knows me, they know that I love animals. I went to school to be a veterinary technician. I still have to finish school, and I don't have my license yet, but I care so deeply about animals. And I'm coming to terms finally and accepting that I am a very emotional, sensitive person. I'm empathetic. Like, I take on other people's emotions and feelings, and I care so much, and it's spilled over into caring about animals, and loving animals, and that's okay. It's okay that I love them so deeply, and now I'm gonna cry. It's okay. It's part of who I am, and for so long I tried to suppress that and just thought I was crazy or a weird person or a bad person for feeling that, but that's okay. So anyway, actually, so a couple days ago, so March 26th, after work, late at night, I had been on Facebook, and a bunch of memories popped up on my Facebook, and they were all about my horse and my cat. Either birthday posts about my horse, or when my cat first died. It was the first year that I had Facebook, and just talking about that. And I hadn't been paying attention. All my days kind of blur together, especially when I'm working. And I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, it's the end of March. Time has been going so fast lately. And I was like, oh my gosh. And even before I was like, oh my gosh, that's tomorrow, March 27th, I just started crying hysterically. I couldn't breathe out of my nose. I got a headache. I was just crying so hard. And luckily, with my mom or even my dad or my best friend, I can just text them and be like, hey, today's, March 27th, when Ani died, and Eli's birthday, and immediately they're like, we're so sorry, I know this is going to be a rough day for you, but it's okay, we're here for you. And so, even though I went through that as a kid and was told all of those things as a kid, now I have people around me that understand, and they love me, and they support me, and so I'm finally able to express my emotions, and let myself cry, and let myself be upset, and let go of the guilt that I felt for so long. And so, even though I cry about it, and I cried so hard about them, I'm still grieving. It takes me a long time to grieve and let go of things, other losses, deaths, whatever. But that's okay. That's who I am. And some people might see that as, wow, you're so like emotionally unstable and look at all of these behaviors that you use to cope with that. Like, that's not okay. But like, if you want a relationship with me, yes, you have to deal with that sensitivity and that emotional roller coaster. But also, I love deeply. I feel everything deeply. I'm passionate. I care so much. So, that's a strength. That's a strength. And it has to do with, I have borderline personality disorder. And for a while, I didn't like it. I was like, it's just so emotionally exhausting, And I'm so impulsive and I use all of these behaviors and addictions to deal with that. And I know that's not okay, but like, I didn't know what else to do at the time. And I've forgiven myself for that, for hurting myself, for dealing with things in the wrong way. Not that it's right or wrong, but like in an unhealthy way. And now I'm finally taking care of myself and caring about myself and letting myself feel those emotions and knowing that it can be overwhelming, but like that I'll survive it. My emotions won't kill me. Panic attacks won't kill me. Like, I can get through it. So yeah. I just wanted to make a video talking about all of that because I need to talk about it. I need to be okay with letting other people know about it. It's not to prove anything to anyone. It's just to say this is who I am, and I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm not ashamed that I love those animals. I'm not ashamed that March 27th is so hard for me. They weren't just animals. They were my best friends, my soulmates. Anyway, I still have my miniature horse that I got back then, and like, I wish I could go outside and do stuff with him right now. I mean, I could go out and see him. I already was out there and fed him breakfast. And my mare too, she's out there. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. And I was hoping I wouldn't cry, but like, it's hard not to cry. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to express your emotions, even if they're overwhelming. It's okay to feel things deeply and strongly. Like everyone says, like, stay strong, these things can't break you, but they do. My heart has been broken so many times, but it does heal. It does get better. And letting yourself cry and express those emotions helps that, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna stop now. And I'm so tired. I haven't been sleeping very well, so I might take a nap before I go to my parents. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna go now. Bye.